Hello, everybody. It's me, the excellent reviewer. Just got done watching the New Japan Cup Night 1 of the event. And boy, we got some things to talk about. First of all, before we get into the New Japan, the results, and who won and who's going on in the tournament, I just wanted to give you a little bit of news that New Japan has 4 new events coming up, and fans will be allowed to attend these events. They are having the New Japan Road Monday, July 20th at Korakuen Hall. Sengoku Lord in Nagoya Saturday, July 25th at the Aichi Prefectural Gymnasium in Nagoya. And a brand new event called Summer Struggle 2020, which will take place Monday, July 27th and Friday, July 31st at Korakuen Hall. It's good that they're coming up with brand new events, and I'm excited, especially now with fans getting back into the buildings. Sense of normality is coming back to us. So just wanted to break that news for you guys if you didn't know. So without further ado, let's get into New Japan Cup, the first day. So first up we have Yota Tsuji. My bad, Tsuji. What? Yota Tsuji against Togi Makabe. And I don't know how many of you guys follow or remember Yota Tsuji, but he looks like he's gotten in a lot better physical condition since at least I saw him competing in New Japan. And I also didn't know this. Maybe this is just recent, or maybe it was like this all along, but I don't think it was like this all along. But apparently, Makabe comes out with a version of the Immigrant Song. I just thought that was, like, I was watching their entrances, and I thought, is that the Immigrant Song, but like a different version? And sure enough, it was. So let's start the match off. Yota Tsuji, he starts by pushing Makabe before the match even starts, and then as soon as the bell rings, hits him with a spear. He goes for a near fall. Boom, just straight out of the gate. Someone's been watching WWE, I can tell. So, the match, it's the Young Lion, the Young Lion against the veteran, the former IWGP Heavyweight Champion. And Yota Tsuji, the Young Lions are trained. One of their key maneuvers are indeed the Boston Crab. So, of course, Tsuji is going to go for the Boston Crab. And he goes for it one time and is immediately overpowered by Makabe. Just like, as soon as he gets it on, 1 second later, Makabe, with his leg strength, pushes him off. But he goes for it again, and this time he has it on he has it for a good while before Makabe is able to get to the rope and break it. And there are genuinely a few times where it looks like Tsuji might be able to pull it off and pull an upset by going over the former IWGP Heavyweight Champion, but Makabe ends that dream and ends that hope with a German suplex with a beautiful, and I mean beautiful, chef kiss bridge. And Togi Makabe is going to continue on in the New Japan Cup. I mean, it was what were you expecting? Did you expect Yota Tsuji to go the whole distance? No, the Young Lions are there for experience, and maybe Yota Tsuji one day will win the New Japan Cup. We don't really know, but as for now, he is eliminated from the tournament, and Togi Makabe goes on. After that, we had Toru Yano against Jado, and I thought for sure Jado would go all the way, go the distance, because I really believe in Jado. I think he can pull it off and become the dual champion. If you don't believe in Jado, then what the hell's wrong with you? So I saw this on the first New Japan show back, and didn't commentate on it until right now. But back before quarantine was happening and COVID, Yano would be like Triple H, put the water bottle in his mouth, take a sip, spray it up in the air. But you can't do that anymore. At least can't do that in current times. So Yano, he has a spray bottle, and he puts it near his mouth, and he starts spraying it up in the air. So you sort of get the image of him, you know, doing his old Triple H thing. I don't know. I thought it was funny. Like, you know, Yano is a very comedy character. He's very smart to come up with stuff like that, especially during these times. So, and this happened a couple times during the night, but they started doing that, you know, the whole shtick where where the babyface asks the fans to cheer for him. They're like, yeah, and then Jado, the heel, is all like, Jado, Jado, you know, like trying to get people to boo him and stuff like that. But there's no one in the audience. I mean, they don't even have young lions cheering, like, you know how WWE has it with their developmental talent. They don't have that. And you got to give them a little bit of a break. They just stopped performing. I mean, when everything with COVID was happening, they just stopped performing, and they didn't do anything, you know. So it's not like WWE, where now they are used to having an audience, and now they're sort of used to, before then they were used to wrestling, like they got used to wrestling without a crowd, and now New Japan has to get used to wrestling without a crowd until Dominion. So of course Yano goes straight for the turnbuckle. Always goes straight for the turnbuckle. They had like a little tease of who was going to hit each other first. Yano, he eventually did hit Jado with the turnbuckle, and Jado, he walks around the ring. He's like, and he's selling, by the way. He's selling in that he's been like hit with like a massive brick across the face. You know, he's walking and stumbling, and you know, finally he does a Ric Flair flop. You know, the Ric Flair flop, when he's, oh, everything's fine, flop onto the floor. Throughout the match, Yujiro constantly gets into the ring. He gets into the ring and he helps Jado out, but not just that, but he's like in there for like a long time. Like, he hits a couple of moves, and then he just leaves. Like, the referee, like, I know that there's such thing as a blind ref, but bro, you know, the proper like, you know, it's just like, it's weird that he gets into the ring and hits a couple moves. Like, he hits, like, I don't know, it's just, I just find it weird. You know, you're supposed to be quick about it, and doing a move in the ring while the ref is turned, you only have a limited amount of time. I don't know, I'm probably just nitpicking here. So yeah, I just thought that was really, really weird. Yano manages to take off another turnbuckle pad, but in an ironic twist of fate, he is the one that is hit with it by Jado. Yano ends up picking up the victory when both Yujiro Takahashi and Gedo get into the ring. Gedo is hit in the balls by Toru Yano as well as Jado, and Yano rolls Jado up with the win. Of course, I expected. I mean, I love Jado. I love Jado. But it was obvious that it's just not his time. Been over 30 years in the business, and it could just, you know, it's not his time to hold the dual championship. Maybe one day Jado will hold the dual belts, but unfortunately it is not tonight. So Yano goes on to the tournament, moves on to the next round. Next up, we have Suzuki-gun against Tanabushi, Yuya Uemura, and Yuji Nagata. And the purpose of these tag team matches, if you ever wonder, is basically to set up the next couple of matches, because Tanahashi is taking on Taichi, Zack Sabre Jr. is taking on Kota Ibushi, Yuya Uemura is taking on Kanemaru, and Suzuki, the big bad murder daddy, is taking on Yuji Nagata. So it's the purpose to set up for the next couple of days the matches that are coming up. So, of course, as Suzuki-gun likes to do in Suzuki-gun fashion, they attack the baby faces before the match starts. You know, you can tell that Tana himself, that he loved being back in the ring, because he was going all in on this. Like, he had this explosive energy that he has not had in over 110 days, which is the last time that New Japan had a show. So, you know, you could tell that he was really into it. So, Taichi, since he's going up against Tana, holds Tana up. Like, you know, props him up, holds, you know, arms behind his back, as Zack Sabre Jr. does a dragon screw leg whip and injures Tana's leg. I thought that was unique. You don't see that very often. Where, hey, hold on, I'm gonna do a leg twist. You know, it's usually hold, punch, 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 punch. You know, but you got to give them credit. At least they're doing something new with it. Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. at one point, they also start beating Tanahashi, but as they're beating him, they have the tag title belts. Because if you recall, Tanabushi, I'm stealing from Solomonster, by the way, Tanabushi are the current IWGP Tag Team Champions. So this is possibly to signify a tag team challenge later within the next coming up events. So yeah, I thought, like, you know, I liked it. You know, they put the titles on them and like, let's beat the shit out of them. Yeah, so that is something to look forward to. At one point, Suzuki and Nagata are in the ring, and they're reigniting their old school rivalry with a good old-fashioned slugfest before Suzuki goes for his famous Gotch-style pile driver, only to be stopped by Nagata. Yumura, you gotta love Yu. He tags in. He's a fiery ball of energy, but he's up against Suzuki. They don't call him the big bad murder daddy for no reason. And Suzuki manages to distract the ref as Kanemaru hits Yumura with a whiskey bottle, Gotch-style pile driver, and that is the end of that. It's sort of, you know, as soon as the Young Lion is in with Suzuki, that there is no way that the Young Lion can manage to win. It would be a miracle if that day ever happens, because Minoru Suzuki likes to murder young lions. After that, we got the Way of the Grand Master segment. Who is this person that is the Grand Master? I heard recently that Tom Lawler made his New Japan debut, and maybe he is the Grand Master. I don't know, but they're putting this Grand Master gimmick full mode. They're getting their promotion with it. Who is gonna be the Grand Master? Who knows? We're gonna find out. Either maybe at Dominion. Maybe we'll find out in Dominion. After that, we have the first junior heavyweight to compete in the New Japan Cup, Hiromu Takahashi, going up against Honma Tomoaki. Now, it's a miracle, because if you recall back, Tomoaki had an injured his neck pretty badly, and he was out of action for, I would say, at least a year. And it was rumored that he might not even be able to return to the ring at all. And yet, here he is in 2020, Honma Tomoaki, wrestling in the New Japan Cup. Not only that, but he seems to be very healthy and in good shape. So, you know, got to give props to Honma Tomoaki. And let's get into the match, because boy, oh boy, it was a hell of a slugfest. Hiromu, he you know, shoulder tackler after shoulder tackle. You know, he's trying to take down Honma. He finally does. You know, it's sort of that mentality, heavyweight against junior heavyweight. You know, heavyweight, they're heavyweight for a reason. You know, after, you know, taking him down and they go to the outside of the ring, Hiromu tries, you know, for a spot, and I give him a little bit of a break. I think you can too, where he claps. He tries to get the fans behind him. And he starts clapping, you know, but that only primarily works if there are fans, which there are none in these events so far. And so the production staff, the guys that are working, they sort of had to, you know, improvise and start clapping for him. And Hiromu, I did not know this, but apparently he's a big fan of Braun Strowman, because he runs around the ring exactly like Braun before hitting Honma with a missile drop kick into the guardrail. I had no idea that Hiromu was such a Braun Strowman fan. Hiromu is down, is later in the match gets down, and Honma, throughout the whole entirety of the match, it's all about that Kokeshi. It's all about him trying to hit the Kokeshi. He goes for, eventually, he goes for the Kokeshi, but he misses. And then Hiromu, who had, before the match even started, was taunting and making fun of Honma with his, head pat maneuver, his head pat, taunt, his signature taunt, and stuff like that. So then he himself, Hiromu, goes for a Kokeshi, but of course misses. At one point, they are on the outside, and Honma teases a super Kokeshi on the outside to Hiromu, which honestly, I'm glad that they did not do, because even if Honma had successfully connected, I would have a feeling that there would be some long-term damage from that spot. So, like I said, Hiromu stops Honma, thankfully, manages to put Honma on his shoulders before hitting him with a Death Valley driver on the ring apron, which, thanks to Todd Phillips, who tells us every single time that a maneuver is hit on the ring apron, that is the hardest part of the ring. So he hits him with the Death Valley driver. They end up getting into a chop fest. Chop, 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 which Honma ends up winning. He goes for a Kokeshi, but then he hits Hiromu because he misses that Kokeshi with a couple of flying headbutts before finally hitting that Kokeshi. And the headbutts, Honma trying to get those headbutts in, would be his downfall, as ultimately Hiromu picks up the win, hitting him with the death bomb and advances on into the finals. Now, there are a lot of people, I've heard people saying that maybe Hiromu could end up winning the New Japan Cup. I do not think that he is going to win the New Japan Cup. Yes, there is that fabled match between Naito and Hiromu that was supposed to happen. I do think that match will happen, and it will happen, but I do not think that Hiromu is going to win the New Japan Cup to get it. I just think that match itself is going to be postponed, but I do think it's going to happen. Now, we get to the main event of Night 1 of the New Japan Cup. El Desperado against Ishii. And the English commentators, they are having a little podcast, and they were talking about this match, and they were saying that this could be a violent, bloody, mess of a match, and that itself was, minus the blood. There was no blood. So, of course, they start the match off, how else, with the collar and elbow tie-up, and go up against the ropes, and Despy, because I'm going to call him that, Despy, he does something that not a lot of people can live and say that they did, and they pissed off Ishii. So he puts him up against the rope. He measures himself because he is taller, because Ishii is not a very tall man. Measures himself against Ishii before patting him on his bald little head. Like I said, not the best idea if you want to live. So it doesn't take very much longer for this match to turn into a slugfest of unmitigated violence. Oof, they go at it. They go at it hard. Like they are there. It doesn't matter that there aren't any fans in attendance. Holy shit, they start hitting each other with all sorts of maneuvers as if there's a crowd of 1,000 people, or maybe even 100,000 at the Tokyo Dome. So Desperado takes off the turnbuckle post, and he throws Ishii into the metal a couple of times. And he goes for it one more time, but this time Desperado is flung on the other side because Ishii explodes out of the corner, and he hits Despy with a shoulder tackle. He then proceeds to beat the shit out of Desperado with constant chops, forearms, chops, forearms, chops, forearms. Ishii is a man you do not want to piss off. Desperado gets thrown into the turnbuckle that he himself undid, Ishii himself is going to do some sort of tackle or spear, but Desperado throws Red Shoes in front of him and hits Ishii with a leg lock at this point. And throughout the entirety of the match, the story was Ishii's injured leg, because at one point, Desperado had attacked the leg and was working on the leg throughout the entirety of the match. Ishii goes for a powerbomb himself, but his leg buckles. He can't take the pressure after all the damage that's been throughout the match, especially with Desperado constantly attacking it. But he powers through for one more, and he finally gets the full powerbomb. Ishii himself nearly gets pinned when Desperado hits Ishii with the exposed turnbuckle, and rolls him up for a near fall. Towards the end of the finish of the match, there are near fall after near fall with, this explosive action, like sprinkled throughout the entirety of the match. But Ishii powers through it all, hits Desperado with a brain buster, and picks up the win and advances on to the New Japan Cup tournament. This was a great match. Great match. If you haven't seen New Japan Cup Day 1, you got to do yourself a favor and watch it right now on New Japan World. This is, it was a great way to main event the first episode, first installment of the New Japan Cup tournament. Now, I will be here and available on YouTube to be covering a majority of the New Japan Cup. Only exception will be probably the last 2 days, as I will be leaving on a trip and will not be able to cover. I'll try and see if I can report, for you guys, but I will be here throughout a majority of the New Japan Cup. Now, we get into tomorrow's business. Tomorrow, for the New Japan Cup, we have Kanemaru against Yuya Uemura. We have Gabriel Kidd, a couple of young lions in Uemura and Kidd, against Taiji Ishimori. We have reigniting their old rivalry, Yuji Nagata against Minoru Suzuki, and what should be an amazing match in the sense that Okada not only is back, but he is up against his former manager, the one that betrayed him. The one that betrayed him to join Bullet Club and Switchblade Gedo. Like, this is going to be pure. I think that's going to be like just because time and time again, Okada, he hasn't really gotten his good licks in. He hasn't gotten his the beating that Gedo really deserves. And that's going to be a match worth watching. Okada versus Gedo, that's going to be the match to watch, to see how it unfolds. I'm pretty sure there'll be a tag match sprinkled in, but those are the official New Japan Cup matches that will be taking place tomorrow. And I will be here on YouTube to cover it for you guys. It's going to be a hell of a match. It's going to be a hell of a match, hell of a card. But yeah, that does it for these review and results. Do me a favor, if you guys saw the New Japan Cup, tell me what you guys thought about it in the comments section below. Make sure you hit that like and that share button, as well as the subscribe button. That does wonders for me. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, you can go ahead and do that at SVBITW96 if you want to hear my thoughts on the New Japan Cup and other wrestling related news, as well as other non-wrestling related stuff as well. That's been it for this episode. Make sure you guys tune into the next one we will be having for you tomorrow, and we will also be having another regular episode of the Excellent Reviewer coming up pretty soon. So do me a favor, let me know what you guys thought about it. Like I said, do the whole like, share, and subscribe thing. It helps me out a lot. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for the New Japan Cup Day 2 review and results. And I've been Samuel V, aka the Excellent Reviewer, and I'll see you all as soon as I can. Goodbye and good night. Bang!